So often when we work with leaders, they want you to come in and do a workshop and it's kind of like one and done. And then they expect major change. And I know you work more, I guess, what's the word? More consciously with the organizations to actually not just make it a one and done, but make it a longer kind of learning process. Can you tell us a little bit about your process that you use?
Yes, already since many years, I'm quite aware of the importance of creating a life-nourishing foundation in the organization in order to be able to harvest the benefits from a training or from an organization development intervention. So it's really important to do this preparatory work with the organization, with the leaders, not the least, and also the follow-ups, how important that is. And I'm quite astonished still, since the 25 years I've been running my own business, I quite rarely meet leaders and organizations that really consciously do good pre-work before they're going to have some kind of development activity, and also to follow up and look at what impacts did we actually get from this. So quite many people are a bit exhausted and they say, okay, let's another one of these creative meetings and it's never going to be anything. And I think even if the meeting is maybe not so very good, still, if you follow up, you will still see some impacts, and that will be quite empowering to be able to report that back. So I think that's one thing that I'm really conscious about, to do this pre-work in a good way, and also the follow-ups. I also, for example, when we come to the idea of building capacity in-house to work with new ways of working with these co-creative methods, then it's also really important to work with the managers before the training, so that the managers of the people who will have the training are aware of what are they going to learn, and also they have started to reflect with their employees and with other leaders, how are we going to use this after the training? So there's a hunger of the new capacity when it's kind of built. Otherwise, many times when you come from a training and your boss asks you, where have you been? I've been to a training. Okay, go back to work now. So this is really to make sure that it's used. And then also to have a follow-up after like maybe 6 months after training, to look at what impact can we see? What did we actually use from what we learned in this training? So that is a big difference to many other trainings.
And what have been some of the impacts that you've noticed? I know you're always very conscious too about the Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation, like not only how was the training, but what has been the impact?
When we have these follow-up meetings, we let the participants reflect on what new behaviors and actions can you identify, and that's kind of also called the transfer from learning to actually doing something with what you learned. And then also to look at the benefits for the organizations. And what often comes up when you look at the final benefit, it's often like a more healthy workplace. It's more engagement. It's maybe that it's more attractive to be in the workplace instead of looking for another job and so on. That are some of the benefits that you can see in the organizations. People are more happy as well, I think. And then when it comes to behaviors and actions, it can be anything from, if I often say that if you have a challenge in the society somewhere, in the municipality, and you, instead of just seeing that as a problem, you can see that as an opportunity to actually build on the democracy. If you have a good process to work with the challenge, then you can actually improve the democracy and improve how people are engaged in the development of the society. So that kind of awareness that we have tools and methods which can really help us when we have challenges in the society. And also, of course, in-house in the organization, where you often have different opportunities you need to explore and different challenges that you need to deal with, then it's also really useful to come together in a circle, as we do with these methods that we work with.
And what's interesting too is you don't just work with the leaders in the organization. What you were saying, like the employees, so that at every level of the organization, people have these skills.
I recommend usually the leaders to get some of the employees trained so they can facilitate the process. Then the leader can have more like the role of a sponsor working together with the facilitator to prepare the meeting and to clarify the purpose, and then to be part in the meeting and actually be able to participate more than if you're leading the meeting. It's quite difficult also to participate in a constructive way, I think.
What are the challenges that leaders have faced in adopting this way of working and being in organizations?
Yes, I think initially many leaders don't really understand the potential and the possibilities that we have if we engage our employees and the public or whatever it is more in finding solutions to problems or exploring opportunities that we could use. So initially there's often quite a bit of worry. Also when we with the ways we are working, we also give the participants and the employees or whatever group it is the responsibility to actually implement or what has been developed or what has been decided as well. And that can be quite a bit of worry for leaders when they are used to being the ones who make sure things get implemented. Instead, they need to have a different role to maybe be more like coaching, asking how's it going, and following up and so on. So that can be quite a bit of worry in the initial stages. But then after a while, they get quite inspired and positive and surprised as well of how much potential we can release by just inviting in a different way than we usually do in meetings.
We talk a lot about bringing humanity back to leadership. You've talked a little bit about in Sweden how there is a whole notion of trust-based leadership.
Yes, it's been now kind of the way we talk about how organizations and leaders should develop in Sweden and Scandinavia, actually. We talk a lot about the trust-based leadership and management. And still, when I look around, the meetings, they look quite the same in Sweden as in most other countries as well. That it is not so many people that go from meetings and say, wow, now we build some trust. It's actually often quite the opposite. People come from meetings and they are quite disempowered and they're angry and whatever. And they didn't really feel that they had the chance to express themselves and contribute to solutions. And that's what we build into organizations, to have that kind of meetings where the participants themselves or the employees or whatever get the opportunities to find the solutions and to take responsibility to implement the fixes.
It's pretty common here too, where people, they go to meetings and they just wonder why they're there and really don't feel engaged. So the way you've been working with organizations or helping organizations learn how to make those meetings more engaging and so people, what we know is people will support what they help to create.